Well, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all. My name is Richard Slater, and I am the publisher of Lancashire Business View magazine. And welcome to this, the first in our series of Reset, Recharge and Recover webinars. Lancashire Business View and Boost Business Lancashire have joined forces to bring this series of webinars to you. Jackie, do you mind if I start with you today? Do you see future working being more remote and utilising team building days to keep teams connected?
Yeah, I really do. I think, like's been said, partly people have started to enjoy working like the butcher from home. You're near home, you've got quality time with your family. People are not going to want to give that up. And actually, you don't need to. So I do think people will be working more remotely. And if they can get a combination of both, we can do that. There's no reason why they can't do that. And I think, Zoom now, we can connect by Zoom and we can connect practically as well. We can do both. So yeah, I think we're going to see a massive change. I don't think things will ever go back to the same again.
From your perspective, what steps should employees be taking now either in advance of opening up their workplaces or as they're beginning to open up their workplaces?
Okay, one word can sum it all up really, it's communication. People are worried, people are really worried about going back, they're worried about getting to work if they've got to get on public transport, they're worried about childcare if the school's not open, or even if the school is open and they don't want to send the kids back because they're scared. They're worried about, can they stay on furlough, can't they stay on furlough, what does that look like? They're worried about their own health. Am I going to catch it? Are we going to have a second wave? Are my family going to be safe if I'm mingling with people? Am I going to have to wear PPE? Is there social distances? Is there going to be work for me? Do I have a job? Are my hours going to change? Everybody's just so uncertain about what the future is going to look like, and employers just need to be honest. These are their people, their team, the biggest asset and probably the biggest spend that a company has. So let's open up those communication channels and talk to them.
Marketing often comes under threat in times of difficulty. I'll be honest with you, it feels slightly different this time. And I know, certainly from my perspective, I wonder if it does from yours. What's been the response of your clients and I guess your sector in the county?
Yeah, I mean, like you, Richard, that saying always gives me the shivers. Every time we have a bump in the road, it's marketing is the first to go. And I think that emanates from the 90s, that notion. But we're in a different world now, and marketing is digital. It's 24/7. You cannot hide away. And I'll give you this one, Richard, and I know you'll repeat this in the magazine at some stage. You'll make this.
I'll claim it as my own if it's any good.
But, you may be in lockdown, but your brand doesn't have to be. And our message to clients has been, think of your message, stay visible. And I'll echo what Lisa said before. You must be talking to your staff. Internal communications has never been important because we're going through the biggest change in workplace practices that we'll ever see. In the marketing world, it's going to have a big impact in the whole sales and marketing ecosystem. What we sell, how we sell it, how we market, how we communicate. It's changed already. And the question, if we all think about this question, how do we, and this is about brand experience, how do we ensure that we stay close to our customers and our clients and our staff when we can't physically do so at the moment? And if everybody asks that question, it will lead to different thinking and creative thinking. And that's what is facing us all today. And as a county, we are brilliant thinkers. We always have been from day one. And there's a real challenge now to think differently.
Andy, do you think that the government's support schemes, all of them, are landing with small businesses? And I say this as, I've had some conversations with SMEs in the county who genuinely don't seem to be aware of some of the things that are available. I think the big one, we did speaking about this in advance, is the bounce back loan. I wonder if you could just give us literally 2 or 3 headlines of things that if you haven't done this yet, you really must.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think the bounce back loans are very powerful. It really is a case of it costs a business nothing for 12 months. So there's for those in that uncertain environment, it's why not at least look at it and potentially draw it down And if you don't need it, you can pay it back in 12 months' time. But it was, so I think that from a bounce back perspective is key. The limit on the bounce back loans is £50,000. So only think about that if you need up to 50,000. If you think you're going to go over that number, then you really need to ignore the bounce back and start looking at things like the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme. I suppose, is everything going to hit everybody? No, there is a lot of government support out there. Certainly, we at Moore and Smalley and other bankers and other accounting practices will have a lot of information on websites in terms of where you can access some of this funding. Local enterprise partnerships, we've got access to pots of funds. Some of the things the government's done has been relatively automatic in terms of the VAT deferral. I'd also suggest people potentially have a look at PAYE and NI time to pay arrangements and corporation tax time to pay arrangements, being mindful that if you have financing arrangements, any arrangement with a creditor could be in breach of that. So again, it's I think probably talking a little bit about what both Lisa and Jackie said, it's talking to your stakeholders, employees, customers, suppliers, engaging all round, I think is probably the most pertinent. But
Wayne Wild is the commercial director of the WEC Group. The WEC Group is one of the largest engineering and fabrication businesses in the United Kingdom. They are based in Darwin, where they started, I hope Wayne won't mind me saying this, started as a corner shop engineering business in Darwin. It's grown massively in recent years. It's done that organically and through acquisition. I think I'm right in saying there's around about 15 manufacturing plants within the WEC Group now. At what point in the process does a business like yours go, we need to start looking at this?
Well, immediately, as it was quite evident that things were going to change earlier on this year. As soon as the lockdown was announced, it wasn't really a lockdown because we haven't locked down, we haven't stopped trading. It was very unclear from Boris's message on the Monday. I ended up ringing Jake Berry, who was the Barras minister. He wasn't clear, so he rang the business secretary, current business secretary, who's thankfully not got COVID, and he had to explain, do we or don't we close? So the daily meeting started and have gone on every day since then.
Has that information improved? Sorry, has that information improved for you, Wayne? Do you think what are you classified as 1,000 employees? You're a mid to large employer.
No, we're a large employer.
Large employer. How do you feel you've been well looked after in that context?
No, I don't think so. I think the government's had an extremely difficult job. Would you want Boris's job at this time? No. Have they made mistakes? Yes. And one of the things he's made mistakes on is on the communication. Sometimes they'll give throwaway lines and then the detail of that doesn't come out.
How many people were you able to use that scheme with?
Well, if you think of the numbers of the staff, and we've got 10 sites, 10 manufacturing sites across the UK, and we furloughed a peak at the 3rd of May. The peak for that was 477 people were on furlough. That's equivalent to about £1 million a month.
So we had stories in our most recent issue of our magazine of a bunch of Lancashire businesses repurposing production or getting involved in coronavirus crisis operations. What was WEC's involvement and how were you able to contribute?
Massively, and that was good for the point of us of government making sure manufacturing remained open. Although it was difficult for us and our staff to interpret that, the fact that we remained open meant that during April our sales were 50% of target. So not great, but still, and that 50% included a lot of direct NHS contribution. So for the Nightingale hospitals, we produced a lot of parts. We built ventilator parts. So for one of the F1 sports teams, I've signed an NDA, so I can't tell you the name, but everybody knows who they are. So the ventilator trolleys that we built, 8,000 of them. We built parts as well for the ventilators themselves. We have done work for Blackburn Council for the crematorium. We've done a lot of help within the NHS.
We all sometimes find it hard to ask for help. And if we're under pressure, we probably find it even harder sometimes. So again, we wanted to nudge people that were struggling just to simply give us a call. It hasn't really changed. It was growth conversation. We just took the growth bit off, and it just became a conversation. And that was where the Ask for Help stuff was born. About 5,000 people have managed to benefit from that in some form or other. Obviously, we put a lot of extra resource onto the website. We opened up all of our teams to everyone, so we can have those conversations. Lots of great resources on the website, though, so people will have to go onto there. Putting on webinars, one-to-manys, and there's probably about 1,000 physical conversations that have taken place, and businesses were using it. In my view, not enough, but I'm never happy. So 5,000 people getting some additional support, not making their businesses work, but giving them that listening ear, that helpful tip, or something that they can go away and do for themselves. That is what the Ask for Help campaign was all about, and it was a human response.